The alien empire had seen countless civilizations fall before their might. Planet after planet, species after species, they crushed all who dared to challenge them. But Earth was different. For reasons unknown, no matter how many times they sent their most formidable fleets to invade, humanity always repelled them. The aliens couldn't understand it. High above in their massive flagship, Commander Kale, a seasoned leader of the galaxy's most feared empire, stared out at the Earth from his command deck. The planet below looked so fragile. Tiny in comparison to the worlds they had conquered. Yet, for all their superior technology, their vast armies, and overwhelming firepower, Earth remained untouchable. "Prepare the fleet," Kale ordered, his voice cold and steady. "This time, we will destroy them." His words echoed through the command deck, and the officers around him sprang into action. The fleet had already been positioned, and the preparations for the attack were almost complete. They would launch a final, all-out assault. This time, they would not fail. But there was something Kale did not know. Something none of them knew. Back on Earth, deep within the heart of a secret underground base, an aging man named Adam Williams stood before a large holographic screen, his wrinkled hands trembling as he typed in commands. Once a young soldier, now the leader of a small but determined resistance group, Adam had lived through the earlier failed invasions. And he had learned something that the aliens had never realized. "We don't have much time," Adam muttered to himself, his eyes scanning the incoming data. The aliens were preparing again, but this time, they were making a critical mistake. Adam turned to the group of resistance fighters gathered around him. Each face was worn with exhaustion, but also marked by an unshakable determination. They had fought for years, scraping together whatever resources they could find, always staying one step ahead of the alien empire. But now, the enemy was closing in for the final strike. "We've been keeping this a secret for too long," Adam said, his voice low but strong. "It's time to reveal the truth to the world." Meanwhile, in the command center of the alien flagship, Kale's officers were puzzled. Despite all their efforts to breach Earth's defenses, something had always held them back. It wasn't their weapons. It wasn't their strategy. Something else was preventing their victory. "Commander, we've analyzed every possible tactic, every weakness on Earth," one of the officers reported. "But there's nothing that explains why they keep holding us off. We've never encountered anything like it." Kale narrowed his eyes. He wasn't a fool. There had to be a reason. A secret. And he would uncover it, no matter what it took. Back on Earth, Adam stood before a small, rugged monitor. His hands shook as he activated the final sequence. The truth, an ancient and deeply buried human secret, was about to be revealed. It wasn't technology or weaponry that had kept Earth safe. It wasn't anything the aliens had anticipated. No, the truth was far more powerful than anything the aliens could understand. Adam's voice barely reached a whisper as he spoke to his team. "It's not about strength, it's about will. The one thing the aliens will never be able to break." As the final command was entered, the holographic map of Earth began to glow. Adam turned, his face grave but resolute. The aliens would discover the truth soon enough. And when they did, everything would change. The very moment Adam activated the sequence, an immense energy pulse rippled across the Earth, unnoticed by most of the planet's inhabitants. But far above, Kale and his fleet were the first to feel its effects. A sudden, inexplicable force surged through the alien ships. They faltered, their instruments blinking erratically. The officers on the bridge scrambled to regain control, but it was clear something was happening that no one had expected. "Commander," an officer reported, "the fleet, it's destabilizing." Kale stood frozen, eyes widening in disbelief. He had felt it too. That power. It wasn't from Earth's military. It wasn't anything they had ever encountered. But it was there, surrounding the planet like an invisible wall. For a moment, the aliens could do nothing but stare at their screens, horrified by the realization creeping into their minds. Earth was not weak. It was not defenseless. Earth's greatest weapon was something the aliens had never considered: the sheer, unrelenting will of its people. And that will, though invisible, was enough to send even the mightiest empire reeling. The alien fleet was in disarray. Their most advanced ships, each one capable of obliterating entire planets, were now helpless before a force they didn't understand. Commander Kale, a leader who had crushed countless civilizations, stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring out at the planet below. His mind raced, trying to comprehend what had just happened. What was that? Kale demanded, his voice steady but tinged with growing unease. His chief officer, Exor, quickly assessed the situation. It's unlike anything we've encountered. Our shields, weapons, and even communication systems are being interfered with, disrupted by some external force. We can't isolate it. It's not just a weapon, Commander. It's a presence. Kale clenched his fists. He had never experienced fear before. Fear of anything. But now, he could feel a sense of dread rising within him. Send a team to the surface, he ordered. I want to know what's causing this presence. Exor hesitated. But, Commander, Earth's surface is heavily fortified. Sending in a team may. I don't care about the surface. Kale barked. I want answers now. Back on Earth, Adam Williams and his team stood in front of the massive holographic map that now glowed brighter than ever before. Their faces were a mixture of determination and anticipation. What had just happened was only the beginning. The real fight for Earth's survival had just started. Adam turned to his most trusted lieutenant, a woman named Rachel, who had been with him since the first alien invasion. Adam, Rachel said, her voice steady but laced with concern, we've kept this secret for too long. Are we really ready to reveal it? Adam's eyes hardened, and he nodded. We don't have a choice anymore. The aliens are coming, and they'll never stop until they've destroyed us all. The only chance we have is to show them what Earth really is. Rachel hesitated but then nodded in agreement. We'll need the right people for this. It's not just about technology. It's about unity. The strength of humanity. Meanwhile, as the alien team prepared to land on Earth, they found themselves deep in the heart of a storm, an electromagnetic field that seemed to grow stronger the closer they got to the surface. The aliens had faced hostile environments before, but nothing like this. Their ship struggled to maintain its trajectory, and for the first time in the history of their empire, they felt vulnerable. This is impossible, one of the officers muttered. We can't land like this. Kale's voice crackled through their communications. Do it. We need answers, and we need them now. The ship's descent was shaky, but eventually, they touched down on Earth's surface. The team exited, weapons in hand, scanning the area. They were in the middle of a vast desert, the only sound the howling wind. The sky above was thick with dark clouds, and the air felt charged, as though it were alive. Stay alert, Kale's voice warned. We don't know what we're walking into. The alien team slowly advanced, their steps cautious and deliberate. But what they didn't know was that they were not alone. From the shadows, a group of humans observed their every move. Adam's resistance team had set the stage for this moment, ensuring that the aliens wouldn't make it far without being watched. Back in the heart of the Resistance's underground base, Adam activated a hidden communication device, transmitting a signal across the world. It was a signal that would reach everyone. Every person on Earth would hear the message. People of Earth, Adam's voice echoed through the frequencies, this is the moment we've all been waiting for. The aliens are coming again, but this time, we have something they can't defeat. It's not our weapons, not our technology, but something deeper. A power that has always been inside us. It's time to awaken it. For a moment, silence blanketed the earth, but then, something incredible happened. Across the globe, people, men and women, young and old, paused in their tracks. The words were simple, but they carried an undeniable weight. Something stirred deep within each person, a force they hadn't felt in years. The aliens, who thought they knew humanity's weaknesses, could never have prepared for this. What they had underestimated was the human spirit. The desire to protect, to fight for what mattered most. The will to survive. And it was this power that had been quietly waiting, ready to rise at the moment humanity needed it most. As the alien team moved deeper into the desert, they began to sense an unsettling presence, something beyond their comprehension. They had no idea how to defend against it, and no way of knowing what it was. The very atmosphere around them seemed charged with an invisible energy. The desert itself felt alive, as though it were watching them. Suddenly, the ground beneath them trembled. The alien soldiers froze, looking at each other in confusion. "Did you feel that?" one of them asked. Before they could react, the ground cracked open beneath their feet, sending them tumbling into an underground cavern. The aliens scrambled to regain their footing, their weapons raised, but what they saw in front of them made them freeze in horror. Adam's voice came through the communication system, his tone calm yet resolute. "You think you can destroy us? You have no idea what you're up against. What you're feeling now is the will of Earth. We will not bow. We will not break." The alien team struggled to get back on their feet, but it was too late. The humans had initiated the first phase of their counterattack. The force that had been lying dormant for so long was now awake, and it was more powerful than anything the aliens had ever faced. The aliens were stunned, their sophisticated technology useless against the strange and powerful force they were now encountering. Commander Kale's team struggled to regain control of the situation, but the desert had turned against them in ways they couldn't explain. "What is this?" Exor asked, her voice trembling as she looked around, trying to make sense of the chaotic environment. The ground continued to shake beneath their feet, and the sky above them darkened, an unnatural storm brewing. Kale's calm demeanor faltered for the first time since he had been assigned to this mission. "Whatever it is, it's not something we can defeat with weapons," he muttered. "Prepare for another extraction. This operation has failed." Back at the Resistance base, Adam stood before a massive screen, watching the events unfold. The aliens were not retreating, yet, but Adam knew they wouldn't be able to withstand much longer. The humans had awakened the latent force that had been hidden for generations, a power passed down through their ancestors but suppressed by centuries of technological dependence. It wasn't just their physical strength or technological advances that could defeat the aliens, it was their unity, their collective will to survive, and their unwavering belief in each other. "We need to strike now," Adam said, turning to Rachel. "The aliens are vulnerable. They'll be expecting a counterattack, but they'll never anticipate this." Rachel nodded, already aware of the gravity of the situation. "We can't let them regroup. We have to keep pushing them back." Adam's eyes narrowed. "We will. But this isn't just about defeating them. It's about showing the galaxy that Earth will never be an easy target. It's about sending a message." Meanwhile, Kale and his team had managed to regroup. They had never faced a force like this, but they were far from defeated. The aliens were relentless. Their commanders, no matter how troubled, had been trained to adapt. And Commander Kale was no exception. "This isn't over," Kale said, his voice hard as stone. "I've fought battles on 100 different worlds. We will find a way to crush this force. We will see it bend to our will, like everything else." Exor shook her head, unwilling to accept the reality. "Commander, we've tried every offensive method we have. We can't penetrate it. This isn't just a physical barrier. It's something beyond our comprehension." Kale's eyes burned with fury. Then we will understand it. We will find the heart of it, and we will crush it. Back on Earth, the resistance was ready. The people from all corners of the world, ordinary men, women, and children, had answered the call. Each one of them felt it, the pull of something greater than themselves, a connection to the power that lay within their world. The energy they had unleashed was just the beginning. Adam's team, now joined by thousands, stood at the edge of a cliff, overlooking the battlefield. The desert had transformed, its sandy dunes now rippling with energy. The air crackled with anticipation, and Adam could feel the power surging through him, through everyone. Humanity was no longer fragmented by borders, by nations, or by the past. They were united in this fight. The fight for their home, for their survival, and for the future. This is it, Adam said, his voice resolute. This is the moment we show the aliens who we really are. Rachel looked at him, her face filled with determination. Let's give them a reason to never come back. Adam nodded. With one final glance at the horizon, they moved forward. The alien ships, now regrouped and reinforced, hovered above the Earth, ready to launch their next offensive. Commander Kale's mind raced as he considered their options. But as he looked at the forces surrounding him, the question echoed in his mind, what exactly are we up against? It wasn't just Earth's natural defenses, they had encountered storms, earthquakes, and environmental hazards before, but this was different. There was something in the very fabric of the planet itself, something they could not touch or control. And they were beginning to realize that this wasn't a force they could subdue by sheer strength. This was something far more insidious, a reflection of the planet's inhabitants themselves. As Kale's forces prepared for their next strike, they saw something that stopped them in their tracks, thousands of humans standing at the edge of the desert, waiting. Each person's face showed no fear. Instead, it was filled with a quiet resolve. Adam stood in front of the crowd, his heart racing as he looked at the alien fleet above. It felt surreal, this moment of unity, of collective strength, but he knew there was no turning back. The Earth wasn't just defending itself, it was fighting for something far greater, the future of every living being on it. We're not just standing here, Adam said to the crowd. We're sending a message. We are not like any other species the galaxy has seen. We may be small, but we have something they will never understand. He paused, his voice rising with conviction. We fight because we have to. But we also fight because we can. We will not bow to any force that tries to crush us. We are Earth. And Earth fights back. The crowd roared with approval, their voices echoing across the land. They were ready. Suddenly, the desert erupted. From deep within the Earth, a massive energy surge shot up, forming a colossal wave that crackled with power. The humans had unlocked something within their planet, a dormant force that surged to the surface, unstoppable and untamed. The alien forces attempted to retaliate, but it was too late. The wave hit their ships with such force that they were torn apart, their advanced technology disintegrating in moments. Kale's voice was drowned out by the overwhelming power, his command ship falling from the sky in a fiery explosion. The force of the energy wave continued to spread, washing over the battlefield like a cleansing tide. The alien invaders had underestimated the humans, and now, they were paying the price. As the dust settled and the battlefield grew quiet, Adam looked out over the wreckage. The alien fleet had been obliterated, but Earth had paid a price as well. The wave of energy had consumed everything in its path, and the land had been scorched. But even amidst the destruction, there was hope. The aliens would never return. They had underestimated Earth's will, its power, and its unity. And now, the message had been sent, not just to the invaders, but to every corner of the universe. The dust of the battlefield had barely settled before the survivors began to emerge. The power of the Earth's response had been overwhelming, but the cost was evident. The ground was scorched, and the sky, once filled with the majestic ships of the alien invaders, was now quiet, eerily still. In the aftermath of the battle, humanity stood united, looking at the wreckage and devastation around them. Yet, there was a strange calm in the air. Adam, now standing at the front of the assembly, looked out at the faces of his people. These weren't just warriors. These were mothers, fathers, teachers, doctors, ordinary people who had become extraordinary by the sheer force of their will. They had unlocked something deep within the Earth's core, something that hadn't been touched for millennia. It was a force that transcended physical might, the power of humanity's spirit, its unity, and its refusal to be crushed by any external force. This victory was not just won by technology, Adam began, his voice calm yet filled with authority. It was won by every person here. It was won by the resilience we share as a species. What we've learned today is that we are not just inhabitants of this planet. We are the planet. And when we unite, truly unite, nothing can stand against us. A wave of silent agreement passed through the crowd. These weren't just words. This was a truth that had been proven in the crucible of battle. At the heart of the desert, the remnants of the alien fleet lay in ruins. But there was something even more significant that caught Adam's attention. Amid the wreckage of the alien ships, one pod, small and seemingly insignificant, had survived the onslaught. Its exterior was battered, but its systems appeared to still be functional. Adam signaled to his team, and they cautiously approached. As the pod was brought closer, the doors hissed open, revealing a single alien survivor, a young female, her eyes wide with fear. She was weak, disoriented, but alive. Adam knelt down, offering his hand. "You're safe now. You've seen what humanity can do when pushed to the edge. We don't fight for power or conquest. We fight for survival. And we fight for one another." The alien, too shocked to speak, simply nodded, her eyes filled with a mixture of awe and confusion. She was, in many ways, a reflection of humanity's resilience, outmatched, but still standing. Meanwhile, aboard the alien mothership, Commander Kale's thoughts were consumed by the failure of his mission. His fleet had been destroyed, his forces obliterated, and now, his commanders were asking why. Why had Earth been so powerful? Why had their technology and weapons failed so dramatically against an enemy they had assumed to be inferior? What went wrong? Kale demanded as he stood in the command center, staring at the view screen, which was filled with nothing but the vastness of space. We knew nothing about them. They should have been easy to conquer. His second-in-command, Exor, spoke cautiously. Perhaps, we underestimated them. Perhaps, we failed to understand their greatest strength. Kale turned toward her, his eyes narrowing. What do you mean? Exor took a deep breath. The Earth is not just a planet. It is a reflection of its inhabitants. What we fought, what destroyed us, was not just the planet's natural force. It was the force of their will, their unity. The humans, each one of them, brought with them something far more powerful than any technology. They brought a collective strength. We've never encountered anything like it. Kale listened, stunned. A collective strength? Exor nodded. Yes. When their backs were against the wall, when it seemed like they had no hope left, they found power in each other. Their unity was their greatest weapon. It wasn't a force we could simply overpower. It was something that rose up from deep within them, something that only grows stronger when they stand together. Kale's mind raced. Then it wasn't just their planet. It was their spirit. We miscalculated everything. We thought they were weak because of their divisions, their reliance on technology. But we were wrong. Exor's words hung in the air. We have much to learn about them, Commander. And we will. But perhaps, we are not their enemies after all. Back on Earth, the news of the defeat of the alien invasion spread quickly. The world was in shock, not just from the events that had unfolded but from the way humanity had rallied together. Nations that had once been at odds now stood united, not just in their shared history but in their collective future. The defeat of the alien forces had proven something: humanity was stronger than anyone had ever believed. Adam stood at the center of it all, looking out at the horizon. The alien forces were gone, but the impact of their invasion remained. The people of Earth had come together in a way that no one could have predicted. But the real question now was, what came next? How do we rebuild? Rachel asked, standing beside him. The fight may be over, but the world is forever changed. Adam looked out over the survivors, the people who had fought and endured. We rebuild by remembering what made us strong. By remembering what we are capable of when we stand together. We won't just rebuild our cities, we will rebuild our spirits. And we will never forget that no matter what comes, humanity is unbreakable. As the alien survivor stood with the humans, witnessing their unity and strength, she found herself contemplating the strange new reality before her. What would happen to her now? She had seen what Earth's people could do, what they were capable of when they stood united. They were not the fractured, weak species she had been led to believe. They were a force unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. And she, once an enemy, now stood among them, unsure of her place in this world that had shown her so much more than she could have imagined. The weeks that followed the alien invasion were a blur of activity. Earth's people had come together like never before, not just to rebuild, but to reflect. It was as if the battle, the loss, and the unexpected victory had created a new beginning, a shift in how humanity viewed itself and the future. The alien forces had been routed, but what came next was equally important. Earth had been changed forever, and so had every person on it. Adam stood before a large assembly in the United Nations building, now transformed into a global command center. The screens around him displayed images of the devastation, the alien ships that had fallen from the sky, and the survivors. But the images weren't just of loss, they were of hope. Of communities that had banded together to rebuild. We didn't just defeat the invaders, Adam began, his voice steady but filled with an intensity that made everyone in the room stop and listen. We showed the galaxy what it means to fight for one another. We stood firm, not just because of our technology, but because of something far more powerful. Our unity, our shared strength. That's what brought us here today. He paused, looking out at the diverse faces that had gathered. People from every corner of the world, all standing side by side, no longer divided by the borders and differences that had once defined them. Now we must decide what comes next. We must take this victory, not just as a moment in time, but as the foundation for a future that will be built on that very unity. The aliens may have thought they could conquer us because of our divisions. They were wrong. Now, we show them that humanity is not just resilient, it is unstoppable. The room was silent for a moment, as the weight of Adam's words settled over everyone. There was no applause. There was no immediate reaction. Just a profound understanding that what Adam said was true: humanity had been tested, and they had passed the ultimate test. Elsewhere, on the wreckage of the alien mothership, the surviving alien, the young female, was slowly coming to terms with her new reality. She had been taken in by Earth's leaders, treated with cautious respect, but also a deep curiosity. The same humanity that had fought so fiercely against her people was now offering her something she hadn't expected: understanding. The alien was given medical care, time to recover, and, most importantly, a chance to speak. Adam had been present when she first regained consciousness, and despite the fear in her eyes, he had seen something different, something that mirrored what had happened to the humans. This was not just a simple alien, she was a survivor, too, just like the people of Earth. "I don't understand," the alien finally spoke, her voice soft but filled with confusion. "You destroyed us. Why, are you helping me now?" Adam took a breath before responding. "Because we're not our enemies. And because you're not alone anymore. What happened here, it wasn't just the Earth fighting off invaders. It was humanity showing that it doesn't matter who you are, or where you come from. If we can find a way to stand together, there's no power greater than that. Her eyes were filled with disbelief. But you were losing. You were so close to defeat. How did you turn it around? Adam's gaze softened. We didn't turn it around because of some miracle weapon or tech. It was because we understood that the key to survival is our unity. And we learned that through a hard lesson, one we won't forget. The alien's face reflected a deep, almost tragic understanding of the words. You are different than I was told. Adam nodded. We are. And maybe we've only begun to realize how different we really are. As the days passed, humanity began to shift its focus. The war was over, but a new chapter had begun. Earth wasn't just rebuilding its cities, it was rebuilding its soul. And part of that rebuilding was the careful integration of the alien survivor into their new world. The questions were many, but the most pressing one was this: could humanity, which had just proven its power through unity, extend that unity beyond their planet? Could they work together not just with other nations, but with the alien survivor, and perhaps others who would come? Adam sat alone one evening, looking out at the stars. The battle was over, but his mind wasn't at ease. He had seen firsthand the strength that humanity had discovered in itself. But he also knew that there was more to be done. Rachel, ever by his side, joined him. You've been thinking about this for hours. Adam sighed. I keep wondering what happens now. We've defeated the invaders, but are we truly ready to open ourselves to the rest of the universe? What happens if more aliens come? Will they see us as threats or allies? Rachel sat down beside him. I don't think it's about what they see. It's about what we see. We've proven that we can fight for one another. Now it's time to prove that we can stand as an example for others. If more come, we'll be ready. Not just with weapons, but with hearts open to understanding. At the same time, the alien survivor began to open up more about her species. As Adam and the others had suspected, the invaders had underestimated humanity's greatest strength, its unity. The aliens had believed that technology and military power were enough to conquer the universe. They had been wrong. They had learned that when people come together, they are more powerful than any force in the galaxy. The alien survivor shared the truth with Adam. Our species, we were once like you. We were a united people, but over time, we fractured. We lost our connection to one another. And that's when we began to seek power over others. But what I've seen here, it's something I haven't seen in a long time. Your unity, your strength. I didn't know it was possible. Adam listened quietly, the weight of the words sinking in. The lessons were clear. Humanity had defeated the invaders not just because of their technology, but because they had something far more powerful, the strength to come together, to rise above their differences, and to fight for each other. The path forward was uncertain, but humanity now knew its true strength. The alien forces had been crushed, but the most important victory had been won within humanity itself. The story of survival, of resilience, and of unity would echo across the stars for generations to come. And so, Earth stood, not just as a planet, but as a beacon, a symbol of what could be accomplished when humanity set aside its divisions and fought as one. In the days that followed, Earth's newfound unity was tested in ways no one could have predicted. The alien threat may have been vanquished, but the scars left behind ran deep. Every corner of the globe was still in recovery, not just from the physical damage, but from the profound transformation that had taken place in the hearts and minds of every person. Adam sat at his desk in the newly established Earth Unity Council, papers scattered in front of him, but his mind was elsewhere. Despite the victories, despite the knowledge that humanity had come together in the face of destruction, the questions kept nagging at him. What had happened to the aliens that had come to Earth? How could they be sure there weren't more waiting just beyond the horizon? And even more pressing, what did this mean for Earth's future? His thoughts were interrupted by Rachel, who entered the room, her face weary but determined. "Adam, you need to come see this." The large council hall buzzed with activity as Adam entered, his eyes immediately scanning the room. The alien survivor, whom the world had begun to refer to as Arla, stood at the center of the room. Her presence was no longer met with fear or suspicion, but curiosity. People had begun to see her as not just a symbol of defeat, but as a living testament to what Earth had achieved. But there was something different today. Arla's face was drawn with concern, her normally steady demeanor disrupted by a fear she could not hide. She turned to face Adam as he stepped forward. "I've received a transmission," Arla said, her voice shaky. "From my home planet. They've detected your strength. They know what you're capable of. They are coming." The room went quiet. The entire assembly of Earth's leaders, military commanders, and scientists froze as they processed her words. The weight of her revelation was crushing. The invaders weren't just isolated, they had an entire empire, and now they were aware of humanity's resilience. Adam stood still for a moment, trying to absorb the news. His mind raced. What did this mean? How could they prepare for another wave of attack? Had their victory truly been as complete as they thought? "We need to act fast," Adam said, turning to the others in the room. "Arla, tell us everything you know about their forces. What can we expect from them? What do we need to prepare for?" Arla hesitated, then nodded. "The empire I come from, it's vast. Far beyond anything you've seen. But, there's something different this time. This time, I will be with you. I know their methods, their weaknesses. If we unite, truly unite, not just the Earth's nations, but every living being on this planet, we can stand against them." The days that followed were a blur of activity. Earth's military forces, once divided by their own political boundaries, were now merged into a unified command. People from all nations volunteered, offering their knowledge, skills, and resources to prepare for the coming battle. Arla, who had once been an enemy, now worked alongside them, teaching them how to defend against the tactics of her own species. Adam stood at the front of the assembly as Earth's leaders gathered to finalize their plans. "We can't afford to look at this like it's just a military struggle. This is a fight for our future, for our children, for the very idea of unity itself. We've already shown the galaxy that we will not be divided. Now we must show them that we will not be afraid." There was a unified cheer in response, a moment of shared conviction, but beneath the surface, doubt still lingered. The truth was simple: humanity had already faced one alien force, but this new enemy was unlike anything they had ever known. Earth had won before through unity, but could they hold on to that unity in the face of an even greater threat? As the days drew closer to the moment of truth, Arla continued her role in preparing Earth's defenses. It was no longer just about physical strength, it was about the heart of humanity. Earth's leaders, once focused solely on the politics of war, had come to see the value in collaboration, not just with Arla but with each other. It wasn't just military forces coming together now. There were scientists, engineers, artists, and thinkers, all contributing in whatever way they could. Rachel found herself beside Adam again, as she had during the darkest hours of the first invasion. She looked at him with a mixture of admiration and concern. "Do you think we're ready?" she asked quietly. Adam paused, looking over the bustling room. The preparations were intense, but there was something deeper happening, something intangible. "I think we've learned that we don't have to be ready in the way we thought we did," Adam said, his voice filled with a quiet strength. "We don't have to rely on technology or power alone. The strength that will see us through is something we discovered in each other." The night before the battle was set to begin, Adam found himself standing outside, looking up at the stars. The weight of everything that had happened, and everything that was yet to come, pressed on his shoulders. Behind him, Rachel stepped up and joined him in silence. There was no need for words. They both understood the gravity of the situation. "I've thought about it," Adam said after a long pause. "If we win this time, it's not just for us. It's for the people who didn't believe in us. It's for those who didn't understand what it really means to stand united." Rachel nodded. "And it's for the future. For everyone who believes in what we can become." They stood together in the quiet, a united front against the unknown. The morning of the battle arrived. Earth was ready. The countdown had begun. As the enemy ships came into view, Earth's forces stood prepared, united as one, not just in strength, but in purpose. The battle would be long and hard, but humanity had learned the greatest lesson it could ever learn, that their true power lay not in their weapons, but in their unity. The air was thick with tension as Earth's forces, united as never before, prepared for the final confrontation. The enemy fleet, a monstrous array of alien ships, loomed above the planet, their shadows casting over cities, towns, and fields below. The ground trembled, not just from the threat in the sky but from the overwhelming unity of humanity below. Every man, woman, and child felt the weight of what was to come. This wasn't just a fight for survival. This was a fight for everything humanity had worked so hard to build: peace, unity, and hope for the future. Adam stood at the helm of the command center, his eyes fixed on the digital maps of the battlefield that stretched across the room. The coordination was flawless. Every military unit, every scientist, every citizen had their role. It wasn't just an army of soldiers, it was an army of belief. They had learned, through months of planning and sacrifice, that the power of unity wasn't just symbolic, it was their greatest strength. Arla stood beside Adam, her face a mixture of resolve and regret. She had once fought for the very empire that now threatened Earth, but now she was fighting for humanity's future. She looked to Adam, her expression softening for a moment. "You've done more than I ever thought possible," she said quietly. "Your people, they're ready. I see it in their eyes." Adam gave her a slight nod, but his gaze never wavered from the screen. "It's not just about the weapons we've built or the strategies we've prepared. We're not fighting just for survival anymore. We're fighting for what's right. That's why we'll win." The first strike came without warning. Alien ships descended from the sky, firing beams of light that cut through the atmosphere like lightning. The city of New York, once the symbol of human progress, was now the epicenter of Earth's defense. The ground shuddered as the initial bombardment hit, but Earth's forces were prepared. Air defenses activated, intercepting the blasts before they could reach the vulnerable heart of the city. But this was just the beginning. On the ground, soldiers scrambled into position, their faces a mixture of fear and determination. Adam's voice crackled over the comm system, urging them forward, reminding them of what they were fighting for. "Remember what we've learned," Adam's voice echoed. "This isn't just about us. This is about our children, our families, our future. We fight for everyone who believes in the idea that we are stronger together." As the battle intensified, Earth's forces, coordinated and united, pushed back with a ferocity that surprised even the aliens. The strategy wasn't just about firepower, it was about adaptability, about using the very strengths that the aliens had underestimated. The invaders thought Earth would crumble under the pressure, but they hadn't counted on the resilience of humanity. In the skies above, fighter jets roared, dodging enemy fire as they launched counterattacks. On the ground, troops advanced through the chaos, using the cover of rubble to push deeper into enemy lines. Humanity wasn't just fighting for survival, they were fighting with everything they had to protect what they had built. But in the midst of all this, something unexpected happened. A massive alien ship, one of the largest in the fleet, hovered just above Earth's capital cities. A signal was sent from the ship, a message that sent a chill through Adam's spine. "I know you will fight for your home," the voice of the alien commander came through, distorted but unmistakable. But you will never understand what it costs to stand against us. You have no idea of the power you've defied. It will be your undoing." The countdown to the final strike had begun. A massive beam of energy, capable of destroying entire cities, was preparing to fire. But there was something different about this attack. This time, Earth had something the aliens didn't. Adam stood in the command center, sweat beading on his brow, but his expression was resolute. The plan had always been risky, but they had no other choice now. The key to victory didn't lie in their weapons, or their defense strategies, it lay in their unity. It was their greatest weapon, their greatest power, and it had to be used at this very moment. Rachel entered the room, her eyes wide with urgency. "Adam, it's time. The alien ship is preparing to launch the final blast. We need to stop it now." It was then that Arla stepped forward, her hand raised. "There's still time. You must trust me," she said, her voice shaking with conviction. "We can overload their systems. We know how they think. Let me guide you through it." Adam looked at Arla, the woman who had once been his enemy, now his ally. Her face was full of determination, but it wasn't just for the battle, it was for Earth, for her redemption, for the future of a planet that had shown her more grace than she ever imagined. She was not just leading the charge, she was offering the one thing humanity needed to survive: hope. As the seconds ticked down, Arla, Adam, and the team worked in perfect synchronization. With every move, every adjustment, the alien ship's defenses faltered. The beam that had once seemed unstoppable was now vulnerable, its power waning under the weight of Earth's defiance. With a final command from Adam, Earth's forces launched a countermeasure, a unified force of energy and will that struck directly at the heart of the alien ship's core. The blast was monumental, engulfing the alien vessel in a brilliant explosion of light. The shockwave radiated across the battlefield, knocking both human and alien forces back. But it wasn't just the force of the blast that had defeated the invaders, it was the very spirit of humanity that had won this battle. In that moment, Earth had shown the universe that no empire, no matter how powerful, could ever extinguish the light of unity, of shared hope, and of a people who refused to surrender. In the aftermath, the world stood still. The battle had been won, but at what cost? The scars of the fight were still visible in every corner of the globe, but so was the unity that had made victory possible. Adam stood with Rachel at the edge of the destroyed command center, the sky above them clear once again. The air felt different, lighter, as if humanity had breathed a collective sigh of relief. "Do you think they'll come back?" Rachel asked, her voice soft with exhaustion. Adam shook his head. "I don't think they'll ever understand us. And that's their loss." He turned to look at her, his eyes filled with quiet determination. "We've learned something, Rachel. Something we'll carry with us for the rest of our lives. It's not about how strong we are, or how powerful our weapons are. It's about how strong we are together. And that's a power they'll never know." As the sun set over the horizon, a new chapter began for humanity. The future was uncertain, but for the first time, it felt like the horizon wasn't just a place of uncertainty, it was a place full of possibility.